Today was one of those interesting days in the market where it's just the bulls get control and they just run with the energy all day long. This is a look at the Apple 5 minute chart here. As you can see, came out with some decent volume at open, but once it found its five on the 5 minute, the 20 EMA, it just pretty much followed it all day long. Finally broke right around 245, which if you look down here at the momentum, you can see that that's about the time we started losing it. It started trying to get it back there before the end of the day, but by the end of the day, it finally broke out of extreme momentum. But pretty much from pre-market, pretty much from the time the market opened, pre-market, all the way until 2:30 for sure, we just ran extreme bull momentum. It's kind of one of those interesting days for Apple. As you can see here, we hit 144% of the last 10-day average movement. We were only priced in for about a $2 movement, and as you can see, we almost hit 6. So it was about 290%, I believe, of the actual expected move that we did. On the side here, you can see that the improbable high of day was 162.93 for Apple, and we hit 166.59. We hit nearly $4 over the improbable move, which is very rare that I've seen it. It was just, once again, the bulls just had control and they just took off and they never stopped once they had it. Now we're taking a look at the Apple daily chart. As you can see, we have quite the rising wedge here with this black dotted line that we are trading in right now. It uses some previous resistance right here back from June and using currently this last about week of support lines. This is a pretty steep rising wedge for us to stay in. I expect tomorrow we will either break to the upside here or we're going to finally break down to the downside. This red support line, this is the longest support line we have here from pretty much the start of this more extreme bull run that we've been on right now. Key levels to watch for tomorrow is this black dotted resistance line. Gives us a resistance about 167.7. If we break through there, then it can pretty much forget about this rising wedge, and we're going to be looking for this 175 up here for this daily downward channel that we've been pretty much trading in since 2022. If we break that 175, Apple's pretty much saying the bear market's over. Now, to the downside, support-wise, we are going to be looking at this support level of 162.8 to 163 for this pretty much extreme support here. We still have this gap down at 157.64 on Apple. I posted yesterday that historically in the 2022, Apple has filled their gap on day 3. Obviously, we did not do that yesterday, so we should be looking about day 8 to 9 to fill that gap, which gives us early next week to fill that level. If we switch over to the chart here, you can see that we are in a killer strong bull channel right here, highlighted by these red lines. This dates back to the second week in June here. Overall, tomorrow and Friday, we're looking at this 169 level as our resistance of the current bull channel. I doubt it's going to happen, but if we were to have some sort of crazy sell-off the last 2 days of the week here, we'd be looking at 155.9 for our support. The key thing to look at here is this channel resistance, which I talked about on the daily. This right here sets us up next week for a 174.7. If we can break that level, like I was saying on the daily, Apple's pretty much telling us that the bear market's over and that it's going to be going back for the all-time high. Now, if we switch over to SPY, it also has quite the interesting daily chart. As you can see, this looks pretty busy here, but basically what it is it's just plotting a bunch of different potential rising wedges. The most key one that I'm looking at right now is this purple one right here, or sorry, this solid red line right here, using July 29th high and June 28th high. We pretty much intersected at that right today. It'll be interesting to see as I'm watching what happened back on May 27th through June 8th. as you can see, we had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we had our peak, which here highlighted by the arrows, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4 basically, and then we sold off. So there's a potential we're going to be looking at 1, 2, a big Monday, and then we start our descent next week. It'll be interesting to see if this pattern plays out or if it plays out a little faster or not. But what I'm watching here is a potential top here. So I'm going to be looking extensively tomorrow for 414.8. If we can hold under that level and we fail to break that tomorrow, there is a potential we finally are putting our top in here. However, as you can see, we have this very key 417.3 resistance level that we hung out at right here. I'll be watching that a lot tomorrow too. We failed to get to it. It's also important because it's this red solid line right here, which is the daily 200 EMA. We've failed to get to this now for 2 days, or I mean, pretty much on August 1st, we should have had the momentum to touch it. But today for sure, we could have done it, but we didn't do it end of day. So that's a key level to watch out tomorrow. We'll zoom in a little bit quicker here, closer here so you can see better. So we got this 417.3. If we have a really big day tomorrow and we don't have any sort of pullbacks or anything, we're going to be testing this solid black one right here at 418.6. And then we have all the way up here at 422.2, the actual blue bull channel that we've been in for since June 13th. These are some key upside. Like I said, if we can hold this resistance here at 414.7, then we're going to test this support line of this black dotted right here, which goes back to July 26. If we fall through 413.6, I'm pretty much going to be looking for us to back test the 100 EMA at 407.3. This is a pretty big support, as you can see. I was kind of surprised yesterday and impressed that we did hold it. So a big bounce like that, we're going to see if we can hold it or break through. I'm pretty much at this point waiting to see which one's going to break first. If we're going to break through the 200 and, you know, start heading towards this 430 level right here, which is a pretty big resistance. If you zoom out here, you can see this 430 level right here pretty much signals SPY's bear market. This would be breaking the trend of lower highs. So if we break through 430, I mean by August 10th, as you can see here, which is next Wednesday, it's a pretty big deal, and that's going to be a pretty big shift in sentiment in the market. Not that we haven't been extremely bullish as it is. However, I don't really suspect that that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to finally slow here. Looks like we're finally consolidating, and see what happens. We'll switch over to the futures. So the futures daily chart, very similar. You see the same pattern we had back here on May 27th through June 8th of the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, followed by the top. So if we put in a double top right here, which it looks like we're kind of starting to do that, then we might start breaking down. Key levels to look at on futures is definitely this 411.77. 4177. As you can see, that's been pretty much the resistance that we haven't been able to break through since May. That would be a pretty big level for bulls to break through, and it also is right there with that daily 200 EMA. A big support for tomorrow is going to be 4,117. If we really start breaking down, then 4078 is going to be the key. If you see this 4078 break tomorrow, it may be a pretty reg day, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Then it's breaking big time support and momentum, and we're going to start looking to head down here, I think, towards the 3800s. We'll switch over to the weekly chart on SPY now. Same thing as I was mentioning on the daily. We're at pretty key channel or level resistance right here, as you see back in May and June. This is where we rejected for 3 weeks straight and failed to get through. There's a potential that we're going to see, basically, I guess it'd be the fourth rejection here, which next week would most likely be the fifth then, because we're not going to probably fall too far down. So we're going to be watching this for 14.8 level. Pretty intense. That's pretty much where we rejected end of day today. So let's see what happens there. We do have the 50 on the weekly to watch, and then we have been riding this 20 on the weekly. So this support down here at 407.9 will be pretty key to watch too. If we happen to break under that, that could be a sign of weakness too, that we're going to see a further drop next week and kind of come back down here towards the 380s, 390s. However, if we can break through this 414.8 level, and especially if we can close over this weekly 50, then I don't see a reason why we're not going to be next week testing this 434 level. I think I said 430 in the daily, but on the weekly, 434.1 is about the resistance that we need to break through, and that will be also the next level on the weekly we have here. Weekly futures shows a pretty similar story. We have this bear market resistance for this week at 43.68, and next week, if we do have the bull run continue, would be 43.52. But we again rejected right here at this 41.57 level. This will be key to watch tomorrow, especially overnight. If we start seeing some weakness overnight in futures, I wouldn't be surprised to see us come back down by this 40.86 level for the weekly 20. The VIX is something I used to follow extensively, but now I'm just kind of letting it do its thing, since all it's doing pretty much is unwinding since June 13th. Despite everything crazy that we've had happen with CPI, GDP, I mean the Ukraine, Russia, Pelosi, FOMC, everything. Market, I mean, they don't really care anymore for some reason. So the interesting thing is that today was the biggest drop since June 15th on the VIX. Not the biggest red candle, but the actual biggest movement down. I am watching to see what happens if we get down this low to 18.7. This is the top, the bottom for the VIX, but the top for the market back in March when we went on that little run. So I'm kind of looking for something similar. As you can see, I mean, June we stopped at 24. February, that little top that we put in, we stopped right around here on this 20 level. So we don't necessarily have to get that low, but if we start breaking down tomorrow, I'm looking for 21 as our support if we go down that low. But it's just something to keep an eye on. Once we finally see this resistance line break is when we can start sort of looking for an actual bigger, more sustained dip. Thank you for tuning into this video. Don't forget to subscribe and follow to stay updated. At the bottom, we have all the different ways you can follow us. There's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit. My name on Reddit is Daddy Dersh. There is the Discord link right there. That's the lifetime membership link. Sometimes there is issues with that just because of Discord. Go ahead and send me a message and I'll get you a fresh one if that one's not working. The Discord benefits include pre-market update with the key support levels and resistance levels that obviously change throughout the day sometimes. Live intraday commentary. It includes my indicators, what I'm seeing in the market, updates with news and whatnot. I also do live callouts for buys and sells too. Currently, I am charging $20 a month and $228 for the year. Thank you for following.